There's a moment when she stops seeing you as an option and starts wondering if she was ever one for you. That moment doesn't happen because you chase. It happens because you don't. And once you understand how to define the emotional frame before she even speaks, everything changes. You don't need to impress her. You don't need to convince her. You just need to become the man whose silence speaks louder than another man's begging. Most men are trapped in a loop, chasing, texting, adjusting their tone, hoping to be enough. But playboys? They don't ask for permission to be desirable. They move through the world as if they already are. And that power doesn't come from games. It comes from structure, from frame, from presence. This is not a video about manipulation. It's about reclamation of your time, your attention, your masculine identity. Let's begin. Number 1, hyper-selective focus. Choosing women, not needing them. The moment you begin treating every woman the same is the moment you lose your value in all of their eyes. The modern man has been trained to believe that casting a wide net increases his chances. More compliments, more likes, more validation. But high-value men don't cast nets. They choose selectively. And that choice, made from clarity, not desperation, is what makes them powerful. Women aren't attracted to men who try to be liked by all women. They're drawn to the one who can walk into a room, see everyone, and choose no one, because he's scanning for something very specific. That's not arrogance, that's intention. Hyper-selective focus means you don't pursue every opportunity. You don't get distracted by temporary beauty. You don't respond to every text, flirt with every glance, or match energy with every woman who shows a spark of interest. You are looking for alignment, not attention. When you adopt this mindset, your entire energy shifts. You're no longer reactive. You're not trying to be liked. You're not measuring your worth by how many women want you. You're centered on a mission, and you don't adjust your standards just because someone looks good in the moment. That's how playboys build power, by holding out, not giving in. Women can feel the difference immediately. A man who gives attention easily becomes invisible. But a man who listens, watches, and doesn't rush, he stands out. His stillness speaks louder than another man's enthusiasm. His selectiveness becomes a mystery that women want to unlock. To develop hyper-selective focus, you must raise the bar for what deserves your energy. You don't lower it just because you're bored, lonely, or aroused. You build your life so that your time is valuable, your attention is rare, and your presence is not given away without cause. Start by asking yourself, is this woman aligned with my values, my peace, my purpose? If not, why are you offering energy? If she disrespects your time, pulls away with games, or behaves inconsistently, you don't chase, you don't explain, you fade without resentment. That silence is your power. She'll notice it before she admits it, because women are deeply attuned to emotional investment. When she feels you pull that investment back, not to punish her, but because she doesn't meet your standard, her curiosity intensifies. This is where most men fail. They see any female attention as an opportunity. But playboys? They see it as a test. Can she handle their standards? Can she meet their presence with real feminine energy? Can she contribute peace, not chaos? Hyper-selective focus also means saying no quickly. If a woman's actions don't match her words, move on. If she cancels plans twice, disappear. If she's only responsive when she's bored, vanish. You're not here to be her entertainment. You're here to be her evolution. And if she's not ready for that, you don't bend. This behavior isn't cold, it's focused, because you understand that your energy is sacred, your time is currency, and your attention is a gift. When you treat it that way, the women around you either rise to meet it or fade into the background. And either outcome is a win. Hyper-selectivity also protects your heart. You're not opening up to every woman. You're not revealing your world to anyone who smiles at you. You're not giving access to your inner world without proof of emotional integrity. That's strength. That's discipline. And that's the essence of masculine control. Here's how to practice this daily. Audit who gets your time. Remove distractions. Limit emotional access. Clarify your ideal woman. Not just her looks, but her energy. Stay purpose-focused. A man on a mission doesn't chase, he filters. Say no more often. Every no you say to a low-quality situation increases your value to high-quality ones. Hold out longer. Don't rush to pursue. Let her earn your curiosity. Because in the end, the man who doesn't need her, but could choose her, becomes the one she tries hardest to be chosen by. You don't win by chasing. You win by knowing exactly what you want and waiting until it appears. That's not passivity. That's power. Number 2, the frame advantage, defining moments before she does. Attraction doesn't begin with beauty. It doesn't begin with conversation. It begins with context. The man who creates the emotional context, who decides what this moment means before she even opens her mouth, controls the entire interaction. That's called the frame. Frame is everything. It's not a trick. It's not a line. It's not a power play. Frame is the unspoken reality you project that tells her how to feel around you. It's what happens when you walk into a room and everything slows down. You haven't said a word, but she's watching how you move, how you hold silence, how you seem unbothered. In that moment, a new story begins. And she's not the author. You are. Most men wait. They wait for signals, for green lights, for permission to lead. But the moment you start waiting, you've already lost control. You've already stepped into her frame. A frame where she's the prize, the selector, the one deciding if you qualify. But men who lead with subtle dominance don't ask if they're chosen. They lead with the energy of someone who already knows he is. You don't prove your value by showing your achievements. You prove your value by how little you need to be understood. Women test men not because they're cruel, but because they're searching. They're searching for that rare man who doesn't get pulled into the game, who doesn't defend himself, who doesn't rush to fix discomfort. That man sets the frame by being unaffected, not emotionless, but deeply centered. Picture this. She makes a sarcastic remark, something designed to test your emotional temperature. Most men would counter, laugh too hard, explain themselves. But the man with frame simply looks at her, pauses, and lets silence shape the meaning. Maybe a subtle smirk, maybe nothing at all. But in that pause, she feels something unfamiliar. Stability. And it pulls her in. Frame is also about not needing to be liked. The need to be liked is a frame leak. Every time you adjust your behavior to earn approval, you're giving her the pen to write the story. But the man who walks in already living by his standards, already deciding what's interesting, already moving as if attraction is inevitable, that man becomes gravity. To own the frame, stop explaining, stop oversharing, stop narrating your worth. A powerful man lets the world observe his value, not hear about it. He doesn't fill space, he anchors it. He doesn't apologize for his silence, he lets it speak louder than his voice. One of the most powerful things you can do is define a moment without emotion. For example, if she flirts and you don't immediately reciprocate, you've created tension. That's frame. If she pushes you with a question and you pause, not to calculate, but because you don't rush, You've just shifted the balance of power. Women fall in love with how a man makes them feel about themselves. When you hold a strong frame, you give her space to surrender. Her femininity softens because your masculinity isn't chasing it, it's inviting it. You're not reactive, you're receptive. You don't seek answers, you are the answer. Here's how to build frame in your daily life. Slow your movements. Men with urgency often lack internal peace. Move with calm intention, as if the world has time to catch up to you. Speak less, but mean more. Let your words carry weight. Never rush to fill silence. Let silence do the work. Decide what every moment means. If she's cold, don't panic. Decide, she's emotional, I'm calm. That becomes the story. Frame is not about controlling others. It's about being so deeply anchored in your reality that others naturally adjust to you. You don't chase energy. You hold it. You don't seek validation. You create it. And once she realizes you've already decided what this interaction is, once she senses you're not looking for her to approve your presence, once she sees you're willing to walk away without a word, she'll stop playing games, she'll start leaning in, and she'll wonder if you ever truly needed her at all. That's the power of frame. Number 3, self-containment rituals, daily Stoic habits that make you unbreakable. Every man will face moments when he feels unseen, unchosen, or emotionally pulled off center by a woman's distance or silence. In these moments, most men collapse inward. They react, they reach out, they try to regain control through external action. But playboys who lead with power don't collapse. They contain. They feel the wave but stay standing in the middle of it. That's because they have something most men lack: rituals of self-containment. Self-containment is the art of holding your emotional energy without leaking it into neediness, overcommunication, or external validation seeking. It's not repression, it's precision. It's choosing when, where, and how to express emotion in a way that increases your power instead of draining it. You don't become that man by accident. You become him by what you do every single day. And that's where Stoic habits come in. The man who wakes up without discipline is at the mercy of his emotions. But the man who creates structure before the world makes demands on him, he wins before she ever texts back, before the day begins. Because his first validation isn't her attention, it's his discipline. Start your morning not by checking your phone, but by anchoring your presence. That could mean 10 minutes of stillness. It could mean writing your intention for the day in a journal. It could mean walking without music, letting your thoughts settle. Why? Because clarity doesn't shout. It whispers in silence. And the man who creates that silence hears what other men miss. Train your body daily, not for her attention, but for your dominance, not over others, but over self. A man who moves heavy weight, who disciplines himself with discomfort, becomes less reactive to feminine volatility. Why? Because he already chooses discomfort. He doesn't run from it. When she's emotionally unpredictable, he doesn't chase peace. He already carries it. Read daily, not just content, but concepts that shape your inner world. Stoic texts, strategic thinkers, masculine psychology. The man who feeds his mind creates a voice inside stronger than any woman's praise or rejection. You don't need her to say you're enough when your mind already knows it. That's what Stoic input does. It sharpens your mental sword. Limit digital stimulation. Endless scrolling, porn, mindless content. These are not neutral habits. They erode your presence. They dull your edge. Every time you numb discomfort instead of facing it, you weaken your self-containment muscle. Train it instead. Fast from dopamine. Let boredom teach you patience. Let silence train your tolerance. A self-contained man doesn't text when he's anxious. He doesn't post for attention. He doesn't need to be seen to feel worthy, because his habits have already confirmed his value to himself. That's a man who becomes magnetic. This magnetism isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's not dressed in designer or dripping with status. It's the quiet gravity of a man who no longer leaks energy, who no longer begs for connection, who no longer reacts to temporary rejection like it defines his worth. And when a woman meets that energy, when she sees that your validation system is internal, unshakable, and unapologetically masculine, her body responds before her mind catches up. That's the man who changes the room. That's the man whose silence makes her nervous. That's the man who doesn't need to chase, because he's already full. Build yourself until no woman's rejection can touch your peace. Refine yourself until her silence feels like music, not a threat. Contain yourself until her chaos becomes irrelevant to your clarity. And one day, without warning, she'll notice, she'll wonder, she'll chase. Because the man who doesn't flinch, the man who builds without applause, the man who shows up to his own life fully and fiercely, is the man she realizes she can't forget, even if she tries. Number 4, no emotional asking, cutting all indirect bids for validation. Most men never realize they're begging, not with words, not with obvious need, but through the subtle, silent gestures that betray a desperate desire for approval. This is what we call emotional asking, and it's the #1 leak in a man's frame that destroys polarity with a woman. You might not say, "Do you still like me?" But when you text her a second time because she didn't respond, that's emotional asking. When you post a story hoping she'll see it and remember you, that's emotional asking. When you over-explain a joke, try to clarify your intentions or adjust your opinion so she doesn't think less of you. You're asking. And women feel it, not consciously, not logically, but viscerally. They feel the absence of certainty in your body. They feel the tension behind your compliments. They feel the frequency of a man who is waiting for external confirmation to feel internal peace. Every emotional question you ask, through tone, through timing, through overpresence, lowers your value in her nervous system. She may not know why the attraction fades, but she will feel the imbalance. A man who seeks validation cannot be trusted to lead, because his compass points to her, not his purpose. Now, this doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean becoming distant. It means becoming so rooted in your own standards that you don't even think to reach out for reassurance. Emotional asking is not just about dating. It shows up everywhere, in the way you check how others are responding to you, and how often you seek confirmation from friends, family, coworkers, in the discomfort you feel when someone doesn't like you. Every time you try to repair someone else's perception of you, you give away power. So how do you stop? You stop by feeling the tension and doing nothing. You let her text sit unread for 12 hours. You let her coldness exist without correcting it. You let your presence be enough. You sit in the anxiety of not knowing how she feels, and you breathe. And in that space, something incredible happens. You realize you don't need her to feel differently for you to stay grounded. That's how emotional immunity is built. Not by avoiding emotions, but by refusing to act from them. You feel the craving to reconnect, and you don't send the message. You feel the pull to explain, and you let silence say it all. You feel the need to fix, and you let the tension fix itself. Women don't fall for perfect men, they fall for certain men, And certainty comes from restraint, from direction, from the man who can hold discomfort without solving it for her. When she pulls back, don't rush in. When she's unclear, don't clarify. When she tests your mood with inconsistency, don't mirror it. Hold your lane. Hold your frequency. Hold your value. This isn't a game. It's not withholding for power. It's withdrawing the need to be needed. You're not reacting to gain closeness. You're leading with stillness. Here are a few rituals to eliminate emotional asking. Before every text, ask, would I still send this if I were fully grounded? Delay responses by 30 minutes. Let her wonder. Let your value breathe. Delete any post or message created out of loneliness or frustration. That's not strength, it's exposure. Set emotional boundaries. No responding after 10 p.m. No re-explaining your vibe. No rescuing her mood. Journal your urges instead of acting on them. Write it out. Don't send it out. When a woman senses a man who doesn't need her emotional availability to remain strong, she automatically leans into his frame. Not because he demands it, but because he creates a space of certainty she doesn't want to leave. He doesn't ask for reassurance. He becomes the reassurance. And in doing so, he becomes the man she trusts without needing proof. No more checking her mood to measure your worth. No more seeking signs that she still cares. No more emotional asking. Because the man who stays steady when everything is unclear becomes the man she remembers when everything else fades. Number 5. The power of unreadiness. Delaying affection to create sexual polarity. There is a psychological trigger buried deep within every woman's mind. It doesn't activate when you compliment her. It doesn't switch on when you give her everything she wants. It awakens when she feels something she can't explain. Why you're not trying to get closer. Unreadiness is misunderstood by most men. They believe that if they show affection early, they'll build comfort. If they express interest immediately, they'll create clarity. But that's not how feminine desire works. Feminine desire thrives on tension, and tension only exists when something is partially withheld. When a man seems interested but unhurried, when he shows presence but doesn't push, when he listens but doesn't escalate, it creates an internal storm in her. She begins to ask herself questions. Why hasn't he tried to kiss me yet? Why doesn't he respond instantly? Why do I feel like he's not in a rush? These questions open loops in her mind, and open loops are addictive. The man who shows no urgency becomes a mystery, and women are drawn to the man they can't predict. Not because they want to feel confused, but because they want to feel challenged. They want to earn his intimacy. They want to be chosen slowly. This is why playboys don't rush. They withhold affection not as a tactic, but as a truth. They understand their presence is already powerful. Their eye contact already stirs emotion. Their silence already builds anticipation. They know that giving too much, too fast, removes the magic. Unreadiness isn't coldness, it's grounded selectivity. It's the calm signal that says, I move when I'm ready, not when you are. And that subtle resistance creates a magnetic pull. Here's how to apply this. On a date, delay physical touch. Let the tension rise before you break it. Touch her only when she's leaning in. Hold back from texting her after the first date. Let her wonder about your rhythm. Let the silence work for you. Don't reveal your emotions too soon. Keep a small piece of yourself private. The less she knows, the more she wants to discover. If she initiates closeness, respond, but don't escalate. Match her energy, don't overtake it. This isn't game playing, it's emotional architecture. You are creating a container where her desire can expand naturally, not be suffocated by over-eagerness. A woman's arousal grows through layers. Rushing into affection is like skipping to the last page of a novel. You miss the slow burn that makes the ending worth it. But when a man moves with calm, with mystery, with unreadiness, every glance, every pause, every near touch becomes intoxicating. She starts replaying the night. She wonders if she missed a sign. She asks herself if she said too much. That inner dialogue is not confusion. It's investment. And it's only possible when you withhold the prize long enough for her to value it. This also protects your masculine power. Most men give affection to secure closeness. But the man who delays intimacy without tension shows her something deeper. He's in control of himself. That's what makes her melt, because women don't fall for need, they fall for restraint. A man who kisses her within the first 5 minutes gives her a dopamine spike. A man who holds eye contact, brushes her arm subtly, waits until the third meeting, and then moves with certainty. He gives her a biological imprint. One lasts a moment, the other lives in memory. Unreadiness isn't the absence of affection, it's the discipline to delay it until it creates maximum effect. It's the patience to let her lean closer before you open your arms. It's the awareness that seduction begins before you even touch her. And once she feels that slow build, once she senses that you're choosing her, but not rushing her, her body begins to open. Not because you asked, but because you waited. And in a world of men who move too fast, the man who moves slowly becomes unforgettable. Number 6. Silent boundaries. Why strong men don't explain themselves. A man's power isn't just in what he says. It's in what he doesn't say. It's in what he withholds. It's in the invisible line he draws and never feels the need to defend. That line is called a silent boundary. And the men who hold them without fanfare are the ones women respect the most. Most men think boundaries are verbal. They try to set boundaries by stating rules, giving speeches, or explaining how they expect to be treated. But playboys, those men who command both respect and desire, never do this. They don't broadcast standards. They live them. A silent boundary is energetic. It's a non-response to disrespect. It's a quiet disappearance after disinterest. It's a calm exit when her actions stop aligning with your peace. And because it's quiet, it hits harder. When you explain your boundary, you invite negotiation. You allow room for excuses, debates, or emotional persuasion. But when you remove your energy the moment your line is crossed, without complaint, without accusation, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable men create space for reflection. Women begin to ask themselves, what just happened? Did I go too far? Why did he just go silent? That internal questioning is not fear. It's respect being born. Here's what it looks like in practice. She's inconsistent with communication. You don't confront her. You don't scold her. You slow your responses, withdraw energy, and move forward. Your silence says, I'm not available for that. Boundaries that are silent are boundaries that teach. They're not emotional, they're decisive, and they create emotional weight, the kind that makes women reevaluate how they engage with you. Women do not respect men who over-explain. Every, I just want to be clear, lowers your energy. Every, I don't appreciate when you, signals emotional instability. It says, I need you to adjust so I can feel better. That is weakness in a woman's body. Strong men don't correct. They disappear. They don't escalate. They withdraw. They don't announce their expectations. They simply remove themselves when they're not met. That absence speaks louder than any speech. And the beauty of silent boundaries is they attract women who are emotionally mature. The moment you stop trying to fix her understanding, you start filtering for those who naturally align with your peace. You're not forcing compatibility, you're revealing it. Drop a comment below with "unstoppable" if you finished this video. Let the tribe see who's watching with intensity, not passivity. What you've just absorbed is not dating advice. It's not manipulation. It's masculine transformation. The world is filled with noise, men shouting louder, trying harder, pushing faster. But the ones who are truly remembered? They move slower, quieter, with precision, with peace, with a presence so rooted, so immovable, that women feel safe surrendering around them. Let her lean in. Let her reach. Let her ask the questions you used to ask. Because now, you are no longer the man who seeks to be chosen. You are the man who chooses. This is how playboys gain power over women, without chasing. They don't win because they play games. They win because they've mastered themselves. They are unshakable in silence, untouchable in presence, unstoppable in vision, and now, so are you. But this transformation doesn't end with watching. It begins with action. And if you're serious about rewiring your identity, evolving beyond attraction games, and becoming the grounded, magnetic man that women and the world can't ignore, then support this channel. By liking, subscribing, and commenting, you help bring these insights to thousands of men who are lost in the noise, stuck in patterns, and one shift away from reclaiming their strength. You don't just help me grow. You help others rise. You help this movement spread.